All right, you guys. Hello, beautiful people. This is day one. I am doing a challenge. I'm challenging myself. My series is all about co-parenting with the narcissist. So I went into that, and now, like I said, I got a message while I was doing this. This is what helped me heal. So I decided to start journaling, and then I realized that as I'm sharing my journey, I'm getting a lot of positive feedback from a lot of people. And so I know that this is bigger than me. So I wanted to bring you guys along with me on my journey as I'm journaling through this. And like I said, I believe staying silent only protects your abuser. And I have never ever had to deal with something like this before. I never had, didn't even know what a narcissist was until I started going to therapy, and never ever thought I would have to co-parent with one. So here is day one, and hopefully you guys will learn as I learn. You will learn as I learn, so we will learn together. So here we go. Day one of journaling through it. All right, you guys. The name that like I said, I believe in signs and I believe in messages. And the name that kept coming to me was God. I stayed when I should have run, but now I'm breaking every chain. So I didn't write this journal from a place of peace. I wrote it from survival, from pain, from trying to co-parent with someone who tried to break me. But today I'm choosing healing. I'm choosing me, and I'm starting with one page at a time. Now, my journal is available for pre-order, and the link is in my bio if this speaks to you. But you can go ahead and journal along with me as well. We can heal together. Sorry about that. So it's called God I Stayed When I Should Have Run. Now I'm breaking every chain. And it's the first of the month, and we're gonna go. And it's a 30-day healing journal for co-parenting with the narcissist, breaking cycles and taking your power back. Like I said, it's available for pre-order. I put a little bit of my story in there, just a little bit. But if you've been following along with me, you already know pretty much the whole thing. I kind of broke down, this is not your average journal. And then I give a few steps on how to use the journal. Now, but I want us to go ahead and start with day one. So when you start this journal, this is a healing journal. You'll have a trigger truth. You'll have an affirmation. You'll have a journal prompt, and you will have a self-check. All right, so day one, trigger truth. You didn't stay because you were weak. You stayed because you were conditioned to believe struggle was love. Now, that is a trigger truth that was triggering to me. A lot of times we don't realize that we really haven't had a good example of what a productive, positive relationship looks like. I know I didn't have a good example growing up, but I'll get into that a little bit later. And then we also have an affirmation. Today's affirmation is, I forgive myself for surviving in survival mode. I am no longer living in fight or flight. Yeah, it took me a long time to realize that as well. That I've been living in fight or flight. That's how I've been living. I've been living in survival mode. Right now I'm still in survival mode because I am still co-parenting with the narcissist, meaning that I have to do everything by myself. When I say everything, I mean everything. So I am still doing that. I'm still in survival mode, but I forgive myself for surviving in survival mode. It says, I am no longer living in fight or flight. So yes, I'm not living in fight or flight anymore, because I was able to get away from him. I was able to get out of their relationship, and I was able to get away from him. But now I'm still having to communicate with him for the sake of the children. Now, this is the journal prompt. It said, what did love look like growing up? How did that shape the love you accepted as an adult? All right. Well, what did love look like for me growing up? Well, for me growing up, I was raised by my grandparents. My real mom died when I was 3 and my brother was 5. I have no idea who my father is. Here recently, I went on ancestry.com, and did that whole deal. It gave me some information, but everybody I reached out to never really responded. So I have no idea who my biological father is. I know nothing about him or his side of the family. Now, I do know the story that I was told. I was told that my mom was taken advantage of, and that's how she got pregnant with me. And that is also another reason why I feel so strongly why I'm against abortion. Because, if that was the case, if she was taken advantage of and then she ended up pregnant with me, she could have, ended her pregnancy, but she chose not to. She chose to, give birth to me. And like I said, she passed away and I was raised by my grandparents. As I've stated before, my grandparents, he was a minister, and he was not actually my real grandfather. He's my step grandfather, because he's my grandmother's second husband. So she had 5 children by her first husband, and then she had 1 child with her second husband. He's deceased. He passed away like 2 years ago. But none of my uncles were really around. My real father, like I said, never knew who he was. And then the relationship between my grandparents was difficult in a different relationship. Like I said, he was a minister. She was a preacher's wife. They tried their best to do things the way that they felt the Bible said it was supposed to be done. But I have to get into that a little later as how that that relationship was. But it wasn't healthy. Just safe to say it was not a healthy relationship. So how that shaped the love I accepted as an adult, I really didn't have a good example, from anybody really. I mean, most of my uncles, they dealt with multiple women at a time. They did not come around. So I didn't really have a father figure or a good example of, what real love looked like. So I know that has a lot to do with, the relationships that I found myself in, because even though I didn't realize it, I was looking for love in all the wrong places. It caused me to develop a wall. It caused me to have thick skin. And it caused me not to be able to regulate my emotions, because that's another thing. We weren't allowed to show any type of emotion unless it was happiness. We were, basically, they, disciplined us by spanking basically. And everything was done, out of fear pretty much. So, like I said, I really didn't have a good example of what love looked like growing up. Even though my name actually means love, I still didn't have a good example. And even growing up as a preacher's kid, it still wasn't. I didn't really have a good example, because a lot of people that I knew, they were living double lives. Like they were one way at church and then they were another way at home. So, and that was a lot of people that I knew, a lot of people that I was around, church wise, like literally they were living double lives. So when I look back at it, it shaped the love I accepted as an adult, because I ended up with a narcissist. Yeah, I ended up with the narcissist. So that is how, the love that I grew up with, that's how I shaped, even though I did everything to get away from that, I still ended up with a narcissist, and now I'm having to co-parent with one. All right, quick self-check. What did I feel today? That's pretty hard for me to have to put a name to my emotions. I felt anxious. What did I need today? I needed to be listened to, and what am I ready to release? I'm ready to release living in fight or flight mode. I'm ready to release that. So I'm ready to release my anxiety, because I do deal with, and I have been diagnosed with a lot of anxiety. Well, thank you for journaling with me. Hopefully you journaled as well. And please join me on my healing journey, and stay tuned for